Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Progress with number 3 in the series Composition. I have found another nice 3 compositions for you. I really like them. I hope you like them too. Let's get into it. This one is not very difficult but quite elegant. It was composed by a composer with the name of Maestre and published in 1939. White to play and win. Normally, when there's only a rook versus a bishop left and no pawns, the game is a draw. But this is a special case. Here white can win anyway. If you want to look for the solution, put the video on hold. I'll give the solution now. The idea is that we combine attacking the bishop, trying to catch the bishop, with checkmate threats against the black king. And the only first move to do that successfully is by playing Rook e4 to d4. Not easy to find that move, but it's the only move that wins. And the move itself doesn't threaten that much, but now it's black to play. If black was allowed to do nothing, the game would still be a draw. But because black has to play, he has to weaken his setup. For example, if he plays bishop g2, then there is rook g4 check, winning the bishop and winning the game with a rook versus a lone king. If you play bishop c8, then there is rook d8 with the same idea. You cannot play the king because king h8, there is rook h4 check, again forking king and bishop. And king f8 does not work either because the obvious rook d8 checkmate. So the only move that's left really is bishop f1. And that looks to be okay, that looks to save the bishop. There's no way for white now to win that bishop. But there is a very nice second move from white, king g6. Yes, the king is on a light square now, but there's no safe check. The only check is bishop d3 and that's not safe. The threat is checkmate on d8, and really the only move against that is king f8. But that is the king on a bad file, because now there is rook f4 check and the bishop is lost after all. There's no other move, so this is the solution to the problem. First, move the rook to d4. The only move that doesn't lose the bishop straight away or give checkmate is bishop f1. And then the very nice king g6. And the bishop is lost after all. Very simple, but very elegant. And I really like this composition. Hope you liked it too. Let's look at the next one. This composition is from the great Troitsky and was published in 1895. It's white to play and win. That looks quite a challenge because we have bishop and knight fighting against the queen, but it is possible for white to win. Again, if you want to look, put the video on hold. I'll give the solution now. The idea here for white is to try and trap the black queen. If I tell you that the queen will be lost in 4 moves, you probably would not believe me, because the queen has so many squares to go to, but it will happen. And it only can happen with the first move, h6. That pawn has to be taken, otherwise the white pawn will go to queen. So g takes h6, and then the very nice move, c3. And now there is a ton of knight forks. The queen obviously has to go, because if you take on c3 there is knight e4 check with a fork. But wherever the queen goes, there will be a knight fork anyway. For example, queen a5, there's knight c4 check. Queen b6 is the same knight fork on c4. Queen b2, also fails to knight c4 check. And the same with queen a3. We already saw queen takes c3, knight e4 check, and queen c5. There's also knight e4 check. So the only move that's left is to take the pawn on f4. Queen takes f4. But then we're going to chase the queen again with g3. If you take that pawn, there is the knight e4 check, winning the queen again. And you can look for the other forks for yourself. And now we see why it was crucial that white's first move was h6, which had to be followed up with g takes h6, because otherwise the white queen would have a square on h6 here. But that square is now not available for her. So let's have a look. Queen f6, for example, then knight e4 check, king e5, knight takes f6, king takes f6, and this is a winning endgame for white. White can immediately win a pawn by playing a3, followed by bishop b5. For example, king e5, bishop b5. White wins the a pawn and will be able to win this position without too much difficulty. I really like this position. Quite a genius Troitsky was, because if you look at the starting position, winning the queen is not something that you would think of straight away. And it starts with a very nice move, h6. Hope you liked it. Let's look at the last one. This composition is from Moravec, published in 1913. White to play and win. Put the video on hold if you want to look yourself. I'll give the solution now. White wins with the move king h7. And we'll see at the end why taking on g7, which looks very logical, is not the right move. But let's first look at the solution. King h7. If now black plays h4, then there is king g6, h3, king g5, h2, king g4, h1 queen, and king g3. And now white wins. Either checkmates black or wins the queen after king f1, rook a1. Let's go back to the start. King h7. What if white would have taken on g7? Let's look at the same variation. h4, king g6, h3, king g5, h2, king g4, h1 queen, king g3, same as we just played, but now there is queen h8, which controls the a1 square. And that's why it was important that white did not take that pawn on g7, because that pawn on g7 prevented the saving move queen h8 at the end. Beautiful. We're not finished yet. We have to look at a few more variations. Yes, king h7 is the winning move, but what if black does not play h4 but plays g5? Well, then there is king g6 or king h6, that doesn't matter. And if now black plays h4, there is king takes g5, h3, king g4, h2, king g3. And now you cannot promote to queen because of rook a1, checkmate. And if you promote to a knight, there is king f3 and white wins. That knight will be lost on the next move, as you can see for yourself. But what? Let's go to the start again. King h7, h4, king g6 or h6, and what if you play g4? And we have to be careful, there is another twist, because if you now take on h5, then the game is a draw again, because of g3, king g4, g2, king h3, and then the saving move king h1. Because if you take that pawn, it is stalemate. White cannot win this position. So let's go back. After 2 g4, we should not take that pawn on h5, we should leave the pawn alive. Similar to what we did on the first move. We have to play king g5. Because then, after g3, king h4, g2, king h3, there is no stalemate, because after king h1 we can just take that g2 pawn, because black still has the move h4 available, and white wins. Wonderful composition from Moravec, and this problem only won 9th prize in a competition in 1913. From the comments it looks like you enjoy this type of composition. I certainly do. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to this Chess2 Progress channel, and I'm looking forward to your comments. You also may want to share this video on YouTube if you like it. You also may want to check out my Chess2 Impress channel, the link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess2 Progress. Thank you very much for watching this video.